And hello and welcome. My name is Martin, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up the trigger box to move from one level to another level. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. In the main level, or the level that our character is going to start off in, right? What we want to do is we want to set up these, I guess, these different fountains to do different things. So this one is going to take us from here to, let's say, the next level, right? So to get a trigger box, I'm going to go to volumes. We're going to scroll down till the bottom till we see trigger box. It should be the second one from the bottom. We'll place one on the floor. I'll go ahead and make this a little bit bigger, so then that way my character can actually just walk up to the fountain. By the process of walking up to the fountain, trigger the box. Now the reason why it's called a trigger box is because you're going to be able to use this to trigger events. Those events will allow us to be able to say, okay, this has happened in the game, it's an event, now we get to do something, right? Or it gets to, like I said, trigger. So it says whatever the code that's built after it, that's what's going to happen when we run into this box. So let's go ahead and with the box selected, and you can see that I have the box selected because it is highlighted. I can go ahead and call this, let's call it tbox underscore trigger box, and we'll call it level. And in this case, I've already done this example once to create the demo, once again while we were in class. So I'm going to create a third level. In this case, it's actually going to be LV4. Since this is going to be the fourth level that I'm creating, so we'll call that tbox 2 level 4. Say 2 level 4. So then that way I know where it's going. And once we've got the box labeled, let's go into blueprints, and we're going to need to open up level blueprint. Okay, now we already have quite a few things here because I've used obviously this for several examples. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in somewhere in the screen. Now, because we do have that trigger box selected, when I right click and I have content sensitive turned on, you will see that I get a couple of options. One of them up here is obviously just like any other mesh that has a collision box or something like that. We can have it create an event. So we're going to add begin overlap. And then from there, we're going to pull out and just type in open level. Okay. Now from there, all we have to do is type in the name of the level here, and the easiest way to do that would be to go back to the level that you have created and then copy that name. Well, in this case, I don't actually have that level created, so what I'm going to do is I want some of the defaults like the clouds and the sky and a floor and all that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, New Level, pick up the default. It's going to ask me where do I want to save all the content, and this is actually from the project that we're working on right now. So let's go ahead and hit save, and it's going to open us up into, I believe, that new map. Let's see if it does. There it goes. Okay, so now that I have the map here, I can go ahead and save this map. I actually don't know where I put this. See, this is called Untitled. Maybe it's because we haven't actually saved it yet. Okay, so let's go back into the folder that we're working in. Let's go File, Save All, do Save Current. Okay, there we go. Now it's going to let us save the map. So let's go ahead and call this my underscore game level LV4. So my underscore game LV4. Now this will probably be LV1 for you guys, so it would be level 1. And I'm going to make that a little bit clearer by putting that there so that way we can see it. So it's my game underscore LV4. All right, so we'll go ahead and hit save. Now that level is there. I can click on that level, select the name, Control C to copy, and then we'll go back and we'll open up the original level that we were in. Let's go. We don't actually need the trigger box selected. All we need to go is go back into blueprints because we already have that part of the code created. And we're going to go ahead and paste this. So Control V to go here. We'll go ahead and hit compile. And that will make sure that this is now working. Now, if you want, you can select both of them, hit the letter C, and go ahead and say this is a trigger box or T box 2 level, in my case 4, in your case 1. Okay, so T box 2 level 4. Make that a little nicer. Okay, and now we can grab that and move it around. We know what that is for. So let's go ahead and hit compile and save. Now, the obvious thing that we want to do is we want to set up a reciprocal system so that way we can get back unless we were not supposed to. In this case, we will go to that level, but we won't be able to come back unless we set up something to come back to. So I'm going to go into game level 4. And I'm going to go ahead and set up another trigger box and then send that back to my_game. And then that way we'll be set up that way. So first thing I'm going to do is actually design this a little bit better. So very quickly, I'm just going to put this into double speed and very quickly just set up a base level. So okay, so we've got the basic box for the level. The only thing I need to do is go ahead and introduce my first person character. So I'm going to go back to content. Let's go back to, let's get rid of material. Let's go back to first person BP. And we're going to go to blueprints and we're going to find our first person character. We're going to put that back on the floor. But before I do that, what I want to do is go ahead and, well, let's make that, so we can see what we're doing. There we go. That looks a little nicer. I want to create a pit, a fall, a kill zone. So I'm going to go to volumes and we are going to scroll up now until we find kill zone. So there's the kill zone. We'll put that in the level. And this is why I made this tall enough. So then that way this thing actually is, the character can actually fall into this. Oops, I don't want to go that way. Let's go this way. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and extend that out beyond the zone. And basically, if the character were to fall anywhere below this, they would then be dead. All right, so that means now what we need to do is create a level, an area for the character to show up in. So again, I'm going to go with a little bit more level design, and we'll come right back now that I've explained what I've done with the kill zone. Okay, so we've got our first platform right there. The only thing I want to do, obviously, is make sure that it is well above the kill zone so that my character is not going to accidentally hit that, and that anything I do is going to be above that level. So if at any point my character falls off this platform, they're going to fall straight into whatever the kill zone is, whatever we're going to, whether it be water or spikes or whatever that is, right? Okay, so we've got the first platform. We're going to need to now create a secondary platform for our character to go ahead and be on. So we'll go Control C, Control V. That'll give us our secondary platform, and we'll put that on the other side where we'll have the trigger box there. Okay. And that trigger box will send us back to the level that we were in. All right. In this situation, though, because we're not going to set up, we will actually come back and do a cinematic. I'm actually going to put this over here real quickly, so then that way it's just a jump across, and then that way we'll be on the trigger box on the other side. Okay, so now that we have the level set up, actually we need to go ahead and put in our first person character quickly. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll get rid of materials, go back to content, go back to first person BP, grab our BP and place that. So this is the starting position of where our character will be when they enter this level, and where we want them to end up would be on the other side here with another trigger box. So we'll go there, we'll set up trigger box volume, place that on the other platform. Okay, now from there, let's go ahead. We have it selected, so we're going to go Blueprints, Open Level Blueprint. We are going to, this is a new one, so let's just delete both of those things quickly. We'll right click. Because we have content sensitive turned on, we will get these options here: collision, add begin, overlap. Should have named the trigger box. We could have said trigger box something back. I'm not going to do it now, but you probably should. And we're going to do open level. Okay. And I already know what the name of this level is, so it's going to be capital MY _ GAME. And I'll hit compile and save. All right. So now we should have a back and forth system. So let's go ahead and check this real quick. So we're going to push play. And what happened? Oh, okay. I did not assign this to the 0 players, so they came in. So what we'll need to do is scroll down to the bottom, and where you see auto possessed, it's disabled right now. You'll need to set that to player 0, and then that makes us the player for the game. So when we push play, we're in. We're going to jump across. We trigger the box, and we are now in level 1. If I go over here, I trigger the box, and I can now jump across. The only problem is to make sure that the trigger box only reacts to us and not to other objects, right? So something like the projectiles, if they were still labeled as pawn, if you shot the trigger box, it would still only respond to that. It would respond to that and send you to the next level. So your character could cheat, or your player could cheat. So to make sure that that doesn't happen, what we'll do very quickly is, and I don't know why it sent me way outside. Okay. Obviously our character, as we know, is already labeled as a pawn. So just to recap, we're going to select the character, double click, open up its blueprint, and from there go to viewport. See that when we select the capsule itself, its collision components have been set to pawn. Okay. From there we can also open the first person projectile and make sure that it is not labeled as pawn. So if we select here, we could scroll down, we'll see that we do have a custom name because we set this up in one of the other tutorials. So we call this first person projectile, and it indeed is not a pawn. Now from there we can go to the trigger box itself. It should also have collision settings, by default, this is going to be labeled as trigger. And if we needed to, we can see right now that what I've done is I've gone to trigger. This is a custom preset, and I've made sure that pawn is selected. Now, if you don't have the custom preset because we set that up earlier, what you can do is go here, go to custom. From there, name it, I suppose, if you don't already have that custom type there, and then from there just make sure that it ignores everything else except for the pawn. So then that way this trigger box only will create the event when our first person character's pawn collision runs into it. That's when the event is triggered. And that sends us back and forth, and this is why our first-person projectiles or other things are not causing us to trigger this event early before we actually run into the box. All right, so that's the simplest code that I can show you with a trigger box. It gives you a very good explanation of what a trigger box is, that you're going to need to check its collision settings, make sure that it is reacting only to the stimuli or object in the game or other collision box that creates or triggers the event and the code that's been written. We also, for the first time, saw a level blueprint. So we went up there, went to level blueprints. Now, the nice thing about the level blueprint is that it allows us to be able to assign things that are outside of an individual mesh, right? So if I've got a blueprint actor, right? So if I've got my first person character and I've got that trigger box is not part of my first person character. So how do I get them to interact with each other? I do that in a level blueprint. So the level blueprint, the trigger box, checking the collision settings, and making sure that the event that we create in the level blueprint is only triggerable. Is that even a word? It can only be triggered by the object or the mesh or the actor or the collision that you want it to. In this case, pawn. Right. So that's it for now. And I hope you enjoyed the video and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.